in case you haven't heard about Power BI, that's one of the tools in the market that you can use it to perform data analysis. So I know from my experience that there are a lot of people that they are using Excel to do any kind of analysis with data. But the question is there a better way to automate your reporting? Is there a better way to analyze your data, get faster insights? And the question is yes. And the beauty of this new technology is that it's been there for almost 5 years. There are tools that you can use with Power BI that allow you to analyze your data and visualize your data in a very efficient way. And also the costs involved, as I will describe in a while, they are not that great in terms of, the budget you have to spend to invest in these tools. So I'm going to jump straight into some slides to present the Power BI, and then it's going to be all the way full hands-on and explain what are the tools you need to have in order to perform this kind of analysis and visualization, and how you can get into that in case you haven't seen Power BI. So for those of you that are on Clubhouse, I hope you have done the registration through Zoom so that you can follow my screen. As I'm going to do a case study and display a lot of the power of this technology that will change your life. It will save you time, and it will also allow you to have much better reports and dashboards that there's no way you can have with Excel on its own. So let me share my screen and go straight on some very few slides about Power BI. So today, everyone that is using data, it needs to access the data and somehow clean and prepare the data. The data, even if you have a data warehouse, an SQL database, or you have data coming from Excel, the data is not ready for analysis. It's not ready for reporting. So there is a lot of manual labor and a lot of time wasting with the data, accessing the data and transforming and cleaning the data. And the question is if there any tool, any technology that can allow you to actually do it better. And the answer is yes. And that's what I'm going to present today with this webinar. And once you have the data and you clean it, can you better analyze it and visualize it? And that's where Power BI gets in. Okay, so Power BI, it's a powerful platform. It's a whole ecosystem that allows you to actually get data from any kind of a data source. So any data source in a digital form can be connected to Power BI. There are more than 100 connectors. And I'll show you some examples in a while. So you can connect to Excel files, TXT files, databases, web sources, a lot of different kind of data sources. And you can create a data model and upgrade your reports. And once you connect to these data sources and you clean the data, and there's nothing like that. So I've seen different technologies, and bear in mind, I'm not an IT person. I'm a business user with a finance background, been into investments and trading for many, many years, but I always loved numbers and analyzing the numbers. And at some point, my data analysis and reporting was stuck because the tools were not enough to help me do things, more efficient. And that's where I found out, I don't remember, it's many years ago, even before Power BI, but I found out about Power Pivot, which was the next step from the pivot, classic Excel pivot tables. And then Power BI came into the surface, and it changed everything, especially Power Query, as we will see now. So let's go and see briefly what is all this technology, so how it's working. So there are three main elements of Power BI technology. There is the Power BI desktop, which is an offline application. And if you go online, you can download and install Power BI desktop for free. And this is great because there's no cost at all involved with Power BI desktop. And you can use Power BI Desktop to do all kinds of reports with super visuals, and then publish your reports on the Power BI service or powerbi.com. And at the same time, once you publish your reports there, you can also put your reports, have your reports on your mobile or in your tablet. So imagine if you have like a lot of data. So we did a solution for a financial institution where, you know, one of the solution involved like 15 million of data, and the tool had no problem because it has it's a big data tool. It has an engine to compress the data and analyze the data in seconds, and then it's something that you can never do in Excel. Excel has a limitation in terms of the size of the data and the capacity to analyze data. Of course, with this new technology, as I'll present you in a while, you can use the technology if you haven't done it so far, and you can analyze the actual more data, big data in Excel as well. Okay, so this is a big step forward with the data analysis. So you can access the data, analyze it, and create data models, and then explore it with very important visuals. And once you have your data visualized, you can then publish and share it with others. So, okay, so there is a lot of technology and new, developments here. So it's you can have like real-time dashboards. So, and I'll build a dashboard, and in a while I'll start building dashboards, and there's natural language query, so you can speak to the tool without writing any code, any programming, background. You can speak to the tool and ask questions in natural language, like you ask your friends, and the tool will return results. Imagine if you have a business that you have a lot of data, client data, transaction data, product data, and you can use all this data with the right technology, with a BI tool like Power BI, and you ask questions in natural language and you get answers in a visual manner about the results of your company. So what are the top 10 products, or what are the best selling regions, or what is the average invoice value? And it will drill with AI into the data, find the result, and return the result in a visual manner. So this is very impressive regarding this technology. And of course, because it's a Microsoft tool, it's fully integrated with Excel. And I'll show you how you can connect a dynamic data model that we're going to build in Excel. Okay. So that's like a quick intro of Power BI. I will go into some more like logistical details in a while, but I think the most exciting is to jump into the data and start building things so that you can see the power of Power BI and the Power Query technology. Okay, so before jumping into that, I'm just gonna describe, the data I have here for our today's case study. So that's a typical data that Microsoft is sharing, and you can get access to that data if you want as well from Microsoft. And this is a retail data. So we have a data of transactions, sales transactions, where we have the product key, the order date, the shipment date, the customer key, the invoice number, how many items someone bought, and what is the price of the product and the product cost and the sales amount. So that's a typical retail table of transactions. And the question is how I get that data and I analyze it. Now, for the sake of the example and to demonstrate the power of this technology, I've split the data in different files. So I have like 4 different files, and these files, all of these files have daily data of transaction data of these retail companies. So this is a bike company selling bikes and accessories, and we have the sales data. And I'm going to show you something very impressive. So this is one of my most favorite functionalities with this technology. And once you get the hang of it, you will love it. Okay, so let me open a blank Power BI. So as I said, Power BI Desktop, it's a free tool. You can go and download it, or either as a standalone application, or you can go to the Microsoft Store and download it. And the only requirement is that you have a Windows-based PC, or if you have a Mac, you need to have a Parallels or some kind of a software that allows you to play as well with Windows. So I do this whole thing from a Mac, and I'm using Parallels to run Windows. So that's for the 14 consecutive years. That's the best tool in BI market. So in the past, there was Tableau dominating the market. Maybe you have heard about Tableau or Click. It is one of the tools that a lot of companies are using. This is the Ferrari of BI. This is the tool that analysts are using. More than 250,000 companies are using all over the world. That's the #1 tool in BI. Okay, that doesn't mean that other tools are not good. Okay, so there are other tools. So, but what Power BI is offering, it's the analytics behind the visualization. This is something that other technologies are lacking, and you will get impressed. Okay, I'm gonna show you now. So in case you have joined from Clubhouse, you can go to my LinkedIn profile and see the link to the Zoom event so that you can see my screen, where I will be building a Power BI report in less than an hour and showing you a lot of this technology and the power of that technology. So once you open Power BI, it does have like the Microsoft look and feeling, but it's a totally different application. Okay, it's a BI tool. So let me start and show you the first and most impressive, the proof that this is a tool for analysis. You go to the Home tab and there's a Get Data, and if I click more, it shows you that you can connect to many different data sources. So how many? You can't imagine. So there's no digital. There's no data in any digital format that you cannot connect in this technology, in this tool. And the same technology exists in Excel. So as you see my screen, if you're on Zoom, you can connect to Excel, text, PDF files, databases, Access databases, SQL databases, a whole different of data sources. So even LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, Facebook, Google Analytics, anything. There's nothing that, the only thing that this tool doesn't do is coffee. Okay, and I'm not joking. That's a very powerful tool. Okay, it will change the way you do reporting. So what I'm gonna do, as I show you on my screen, I have annual files, so of transactions, daily transactions for a retail company. Imagine that could be either annual, or that could be also daily files, or weekly files, or monthly files. And you have a report that you want to build where your report is updated on the spot. Okay. Keep putting your questions on Zoom, and I'll make pauses and handle the questions. Or if you are on Clubhouse, we will have a session with questions. But now let me give you a little of that beauty here. And the first thing, it's that I have Excel files. So some of these files have like thousands of transactions. Okay, imagine if you are on Excel and you want to build a report and you have to update it with new data, new transactions. There is a lot of pain with traditional Excel. And now I'll show you how we do it with the new technology, with Power BI and the data analytics power of Power Query. So I'm going to create a folder in my laptop where I say, I'm going to say like sales data. And I'm going to throw into that folder the daily transactions for 3 years, 2013, 2014, and 2015. Okay, and we talk about thousands of rows here. So, okay, maybe I have one file open, so I'm gonna close that file and then put it in the folder. So I have 3 files in the folder with the daily transactions, the daily transactions for 3 years. Okay, so I have my files in the folder, and look what I can do with Power BI. I'm gonna go again, one more time, go more, get data. So the first step when you do analysis and reporting is get the data in, okay? So I'm gonna say connect to a folder. So I'm connecting to the folder. I'm creating a live connection to the folder. And I'm gonna browse and find my folder. I have it on my desktop. So I'm gonna find the folder. It's here. And I'm just pointing to the folder, to the sales data folder, the folder I just created. And I say, okay. So what Power BI is doing, it's actually reading the contents of the folder. And it brings up a page where it says, a window that says, I see the 3 files in the folder. And I have different options here, but the one I'm gonna select, it's the one that says combine, and I'm gonna open that and say combine and transform. Okay, wait. So can it do that? And that's only the beginning. Yes, it can combine and transform files that you put in the same folder. The only requirement is that the files have the same structure. So if you have a database, an ERP, or any system, and if you have files that you maintain and they have the same structure, you can just throw them in the folder and Power BI will read them and combine them on the spot. And that's just the beginning, because what I'm going to show you in a while, it's going to be like a wow effect, okay? It's crazy. So what it's doing, it's looking into the files in the folder, and it's picking one file in the folder as a benchmark, as a sample file, in order to actually do the transformation, the linking of the data with Power BI. And if I click on the Sales tab here on this navigator window, it's going to show me a preview of the data. And here you see our data. So we have all the transactions, daily transactions for Power BI here. And I click OK. And what it's doing in the background, it's combining and transforming the files in one table. And it just did it. So let me switch to the right screen here. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Power Query. That's the biggest development in the world of analytics for the last 10 years. And so you have Power Query in your Excel. If you have Excel 2016 and later, you have it already. You don't need to pay for that, okay? And it's one of the most powerful tools that exists out there, and it's free. You don't need to pay any license for any tool that in order to do analytics and reporting, because Power Query is free, it's in your laptop. Even if you have Excel 2013 or 2010, you can download Power Query as a free add-in. And let me walk you through of the Power Query interface, okay? And the first and the most important is that here. That's what when I start learning about Power Query and I saw that, I really was like shocked. Why? Because what I show you on my screen, it's a smart way. Actually, it's this thing down here. So let me properly draw this thing here. So for those of you that have worked with Excel and maybe you have heard about macros, imagine that Power Query has a much smarter and advanced technology to remember whatever steps you do with your data. And it records every transformation of your data. And here on the right of my screen, that the region I highlighted are the steps that it's recording, and it's remembering that. So the next time I'm going to put a new file into the folder, I don't need to do anything. The only thing I need to do is right-click, refresh, and in seconds, no matter how many data you have millions of data coming in, new data, it doesn't matter. It will read the new data, do the necessary transformations, and then you have your data in Power BI, in your report. The report is updated, and I'm going to show you that now, okay? So, okay, let's see one other element. So there are some more technical and advanced things here. They are not part of this, session. I'm going to show you the power of Power BI, get to know Power BI, what Power BI can do, and Power Query. And there's a lot of material out there. And if you're interested, I would advise go and learn it, go and start using it. So what I just highlighted is the query that has all the data in. And how do I know it? If I go here on the order date and I click load more, it's downloading all the data. And actually it's limiting to 1000 values, but it has all the data. And I'm going to show you in a while. So if I go here and click load more, you see that it has data from 2013, 2014, and 2015. So the combination was done just with a click of a button. And I can rename that query to just sales. So this is my sales, okay? And I can delete the columns that I don't need. You can play with the data without touching the source data. So this is an instance of the data that is loading in the program, okay? So, okay, let's see. Let's remove the promotion. So how do I remove a column? I just right click and remove it. Or I can go up here and select remove columns, and let's delete the ship date for now. I don't need it. So look what happened. Once I did this right click, remove the column, it recorded the step on the applied step section. So it remembers that I don't want these two columns, the ship date and the promotion key. Another beauty, once I click at every step, I see how the data looked like at each step in the process. So the first step, usually in a query, it's the source, where the data came from. And then different kind of transformations. And Power Query is doing a lot of transformations for us, so we don't need to do write any code. Bear in mind, we are not talking about a tool that is for IT people. IT people can use it, but this is primarily a tool for business professionals, for finance professionals, for accounting professionals, for everyone that is using data. So if you are using data and you're not using this kind of technology, you better do it as soon as possible, okay? And I'm gonna also delete that column here. So you can do all kinds of transformations with your data. And I'm gonna show you another way to connect data to Power Query. So if I go and I select new source, I can connect to an SQL server. So I have an SQL server in my laptop installed. You could have an SQL server in your company. So I can connect to an SQL server. So my SQL server has a nice name, which is Lemon Tree. And I can select what kind of connection I do to the SQL server. So I can do I can connect through an import. So you import the data from the SQL server, or I can do a direct query on the data on the SQL server. So let me do the import. So I'm going to import the data from the SQL server. So I have different databases in my SQL server. So I'm going to connect to this AdventureWorks. And I already have the sales, so I don't need the sales. I'm going to bring the products. So let's bring the products and the product category and subcategory, and also bring customers. So I'm going to bring the customer, and I'm going to bring the territory. I think that's good for now. I'm just clicking OK. So for all of those of you that might have some experience with SQL, it's much easier here. Things are much easier, much more user-friendly. There is a great user interface, and you can do things without writing any code. You just click buttons and you can connect to anything, okay? And you do it only once. That's another beauty. Why only once? Because it has a memory, it remembers. So whatever connections I make, whatever steps and transformations I make to my data, it remembers that. And if new data comes in, daily, weekly, monthly, doesn't matter, and you put it in the folder or your SQL server updates the data, it's there. You just click refresh and your report updates on the spot in seconds. Okay. And okay, let's take a look. Let's see if we have any questions before I move on. So let's switch to Zoom and see if we have any questions. George, if there is no, so George at Zoom is asking if you can connect to MongoDB databases. I haven't used it. We can check. If it doesn't have a ready connector, you can also build the connector. Most probably there is already a connector. So we can look at later and see if there is a connection. So it's very powerful and it's constantly updated. So it's if you are using data, if you are doing reporting for your business, any kind of reporting, sales reporting, transactional reporting, client marketing, you have like your digital marketer and you have data, you're a finance person, an accountant. If you're using data, you're using Excel, that's the technology you should be using from now on. Okay. This BI tool is super powerful. It doesn't cost anything. I will explain when you have to pay. So there is a catch. You do pay at some point, but you can use it forever for your own personal use without paying anything, zero. Okay. So do we have any other questions from Clubhouse? Raise your hand, or from Zoom before I move on. So what I have done so far, I connected my Power BI to a data source, which is a folder that has transactions, daily transactions of a retail company for 3 years. We talk something like more than 100,000 rows here. It could be like more than 3 million rows, and it will load for in seconds. Okay. And I also connected to an SQL server, and I got data from my SQL server, so that I'm taking bits and pieces from here and there, so that you see the power of the connectivity that this tool has. Okay, so now I brought these tables from the SQL server. So let's give them like proper names. So products, and here we have the product category. Categories, and you have product subcategories. We have customers. And we have sales territory. And let me clear my screen. I'm going to show you a little bit of what Power BI, Power Query can do. That's my favorite tool, and you should start using it in case you haven't. So, okay, let's see at products. So look at that cool thing that Power BI is doing when you're connecting to the SQL. So let's imagine that there is here a column that I don't need. So that there is like the description of the product in different languages. So it's French, Chinese, and I want to keep just the English description. So I can delete that columns. So I select the columns I want to delete, I right click, and I say remove columns. And what Power Query did is just remove the columns. From where? From here, from Power BI. So it doesn't touch the source data. It's creating an instance of the data on Power BI, and you can play with the data here. Okay. So, and what else do we have? We have the status, we have internet sales. So, okay, we don't need that. So I can delete columns like that. Again, product name, French, Spanish. So you can do a different kind of cleaning of your data in Power BI, Power Query. And in categories, you see we have these categories, and again, I can remove the Spanish and French categories. It really depends. You know, I had that case with the client. They have like a data warehouse, and the data warehouse was created by IT people. And the IT people there have no idea of what is going on in business. And the data warehouse is a mess. It's a total mess. So how do you get data from the data warehouse and actually create reports? And the answer is you can use Power Query. And you can connect to the SQL server or the data warehouse and then clean the data and start building your report. And again, I'm doing the same thing here. And I'm going to show you some cool things now on the customer data. So okay, let's go and take the birth date. Okay, this is one of my, like a cool thing you can do with customer data. And I know that if you're in business, you do have customer data. And in this customer data table, we have like birth date. So what can I do with the birth date? You can do a lot of things. So one thing you can do, you can like say, I want to create a column where I use a data to actually calculate the age. And what it's doing on the spot, it's calculating the age. And I can then change the age and make it in years. So it has a lot of functionalities that they do not exist in Excel. So now I have the age, customer age. And this is dynamic. So as the data, as we move in time, this is a calculated field, but you didn't have to write anything. I just clicked the birth date and I was able to do like calculate the customer age. Okay. And I will do one, like an extra step here, sorry, which it's quite cool. I'm going to use this very powerful functionality that says create a column from examples. So I go to the add column and say, create a column from examples. Yes, Office 365 version of Power BI. So Adim Chris is asking if the Office 365 version of Power BI has the same capabilities as the desktop. It's exactly the same. Okay, so you don't need to join the Power BI, the Microsoft Developer Program. You can get Power BI for free. Google Microsoft Power BI Desktop 64-bit. You should go with a 64-bit, and you can get for free. Okay, so not necessarily to join actually the to join the developer program. So anyone that has a Google and a laptop can get Power BI for free. So Ravi, I just saw your question. Ravi is asking, how can we share the dashboard with other users? No, and then he moves on and asks, every user needs to have Power BI installed? No, you can have Power BI installed. You can do all the hard work, you know, build the nice dashboards, and then you can share the dashboards online with Power BI online. So we will talk about it, and I'll show you how it looks like and how it's done today. Okay. So what did I do? I selected the birth date, and then from the birth date, I went to the date and I said, okay, I want to calculate how old are you? And then I want to create a custom column. And now look what I'm going to do. I'm going to write age group. And this thing is smart. Why it's smart? Because I'm going to start writing what I would like to have in this column, and it will try to understand and translate it in its own language without writing any code. So I'm going to say that a customer that has, so you see that first row, so you go row by row and you go and you give like some examples. Usually 2-3 examples are enough to create like the, you know, the column from examples. And you say, I want these guys to be like from 40 to 50. And it's done. I don't need to do anything else. So if you see my screen, what it just did, it did go in the whole database of customers And it imagined that since I said that this person that in the next column in this row, it has an age of 49.5 years, and I said 40 till 50, that I want to do the same for all the clients. And then it goes to every client and it actually expands what I just wrote and groups the age of the client in year groups of 10 years. Okay. And I don't write any code, nothing. So and this is dynamic. Okay. And the territory is here, and we are good to go with that. So I'm gonna select here, close and apply. And what's gonna happen, it's loading the data in my data model. So that concept is totally new. If you haven't worked with Power BI or Power Pivot, you haven't heard about it. So Power BI Desktop, it's a free tool. It's a BI tool that everyone that is working with data needs to use it to analyze data and build much more impressive reports. Believe me, if you learn that skill, you will get like a lot of value in your company. Everyone will love you. Everyone will come to you for reporting. You will find a better job, a new job. This is the future. Data analytics and BI is the future. And it doesn't matter in which industry you are. If you're a finance or an accounting professional, if you're using data, you have to use it. So what happened now? So the data is in. So and let's go here to the data view. So we have 3 views in Power BI. So one view, it's the report view, which is this empty canvas here where we can start building our visuals. Then we have the data view, which looks like, that's the closest to Excel, where you see your actual data. And I'm going to show you the sales. Okay, so for now we have 43,000 rows. Later I will put more data here. And then we have the relationship view, which is something totally new. Okay, if you haven't been into that. Imagine if you're doing VLOOKUP and you bring data from one table to another, but now you do it by defining relationships. And I'm gonna show you how it's done. Before I do that, I'm gonna go to the sales table and I'm gonna create like a visual. So let's take the sales amount. So you see the sigma, the Greek sigma, that's a number. And once I drop it into the Canva, into the report, it shows the data. Okay. And if I take from from that table also the order date, it's plotting the data based on time. So simple. So we connected 3 years of data, sales data, by looking at the folder. And we also got data for customers from an SQL server. And here you have your first visual. And if I take another visual, okay, I can, these are free visuals, okay? And they're very impressive. So let me show you that. Free visuals here. And no, I want this. Yes, I want this to show you. So here on the right of your screen, you have all these free visuals, and there's also a marketplace where you can get visuals from the market. So there are a lot of developers, like in your mobile, in your iPhone or your Android. There is a marketplace to download applications. There is a marketplace that you can download more visuals. Okay, so it's a huge thing. But the existing visuals are perfect. So I'm going to add one more visual here so that you can realize what's going on with our data, and then throw our sales amount. So for these 3 years, we have total sales of 23.84 million. Okay. Now, one step at a time, let me make a small pause. If you have any questions, let me see. I do see some questions. it connects very well with a CSV file. So if you can export files from a CSV, that's fine. It doesn't have any problem. The only requirement, Hon Yin, I hope I didn't mess your name, it's that every file should have the same structure if you want to combine it. Okay. I'm gonna bring more stuff here. Yes, I'm gonna show you more stuff. So, any questions from Clubhouse? No. Okay. So let me put one more visual. Let me put a table, a matrix. The matrix in Power BI is the closest to the pivot table in Excel. Okay. And I'm gonna take the product categories. But before I do that, let me show you something very important, something that you don't have in Excel, at least the old Excel, because there is a new Excel, and this is with this Power Pivot and Power Query technology. So I'm gonna delete these relationships, and I'm gonna create the relationships from scratch so that you see how it is. If until today, whenever you wanted to do data and you had your data in Excel, you were combining data in one big table, and then you were like, with VLOOKUPs and and having a lot of repetitive information, and this data was like quite heavy. What the latest trends in data analysis are saying is that you should start learning about data modeling. And data modeling, it's when you bring data from different data sources and you combine them all together. So here, I do have some information. So I have customers, and so one customer can make many transactions. And in these transactions, one product can be, bought from customers multiple times, but this is a unique product. So I do have somewhere in the system, and I should have a table of unique products and a table of unique customers and a table of unique regions or categories of products. Okay. And then I have transactions where I have the same customer buying different products for many different dates, and maybe the same product like 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So how do I build a proper data model? You just link the data sources. So remember, one file here, it's coming from multiple Excel files, and while other sources like the customers and the products and the categories and the territories, they do come from where? From an SQL server. It could be like CSV. So I'm gonna connect them. So I connect the unique product. What is the unique identifier from my product table? So a product usually has a product ID, a product key. So I take the product key from my product table and I connect it to my sales table. Don't make the mistake to have in your sales, in your transaction table, all the details about your customers and the products repeating. The customer that is called, let me see here, Christos, he might have made many transactions, but that doesn't mean that in these many transactions, I should put Christos details, what? Marital status, gender, address, mobile, date of birth, that I should put that in a transactions table. The only thing I need to put from the customers table into the sales table, it's the customer key, the customer ID. And then I maintain a separate table with the unique customers. So let's go and get the customer key from the customers table and give it and connect it with the sales table. So imagine a very smart and upgraded VLOOKUP. Okay, so VLOOKUP is dead with this technology. There's no point using VLOOKUP and combining data and comparing data when you have this power here to create a data model. And I'm gonna connect my products table with my products category and subcategory so that I have some extra details. So I could have the subcategory and category in the same table. That would be fine, but that's how this database was structured. So let's take that, and we have the okay, let's bring the subcategory here. And I think it's fine here. Let's leave it for now like this. Now I'm gonna get from my product categories table the product category name, put it here, I just drag and drop it, and I'm gonna get from my sales table the sales amount. And you have, let me make it bigger. You do have like sales by subcategory, by category in your table. And of course, that name is not nice here, so I can rename that. Remember that this is coming from an SQL, but here I can say category. I'm not destroying the SQL. Okay, the data is there, the source data is there. I'm just fixing my data for better reporting. So I have the sales amount and the accessories and clothing. And if I click now on the bikes, which is a major category, and I can show it presented more visually with Power BI, this visual, the visual that shows the sales by date, it's updating. And I'm gonna create one more table here where I bring dates. So let's go do that. Let's go back. I have one more thing to show you here. So as you realize, you don't need to know how to code things, but there is a programming language, and if you want to become advanced user of Power Query, of Power BI, you can learn a language. The Power Query language is called M language. The Power BI, Power Pivot language is called DAX language, and this is a very modern language for data analysis and BI work. So I have a code here, a script written in my Word or a TXT file, where I'm going to create a data table, a date table, a calendar table. So I'm going to go back to Power Query, and I'm going to go here and say, create a blank query, and go to the advanced editor and just throw this code inside the advanced editor. So you can write code, you can have code, ready, and that's just creating a date table. I could create one by myself, but here I just want to show you another, functionality of the tool, that you can store the code that is behind, that you can use. You can create a query using all these visual tools, and you can store the code, and then you can reuse it. You don't need to start doing everything from the beginning. So I have a calendar table, and one of these wow moments with Power BI that I haven't mentioned so far is the time intelligence. Imagine if you have the data, and you will see the data, transforming in a while. So imagine if you have your data and you can present your data in an easy manner by having what were the sales same period last year? What are the sales year to date? What are the sales quarter to date? And you can slice the data. So i.e., what do I mean? You can say, what are the sales same period last year for women clients at the age group of 30 till 40 years old that they bought red products? How difficult it is to make that in Excel? How many functions, count ifs, sum ifs you have to make in Excel? And how easy it's to make it in Power BI? To have all this time intelligence here. So if you wanted to have one reason to learn Power BI, maybe it's time intelligence, but that's not the only one. It's automation, it's time saving. It's a report updating in seconds. So, okay, let me do a quick check in this. So fiscal year, I will put that it's not 6, I will put that we have a calendar. The calendar year is similar with the fiscal. I just create the calendar table, And I'm gonna go back to the relationships, and I'm gonna link this calendar table to my transactions and my to my other tables, to my data model. So I go here, I take the calendar table, and I link my date with the order date. And I'm gonna go back to the chart where I have the sales by order date, and I will replace the order date with a date from the calendar table. Okay, let's see why. Oh, okay. One little hack, because it's a custom calendar table, I have to define the start and the end date of the calendar table. Okay, so you don't need to have dates forever, you know, from the beginning. So because my data starts from 2012, let's put 2012, and then it goes up until today. Okay. Remember, the calendar table, it's a dynamic table that the only thing I have to make is to make sure that the starting point of the calendar table, it's you know, before the beginning of my actual data, or at the beginning of the actual data. And you will see that coming now. Yeah. And someone asked in the chat, can I put the month and see the month, or I will put the year, you know, see the dates, transactions by year. And here you have your data. And before I move on, and I see some questions coming on the Zoom chat. Okay, let me tackle the questions, and then I'll see. So DAX, okay, yes, it's DAX language. Okay, guys, so now, you know, when you're flying with an airplane, they say, you know, we're going to experience a little bit of turbulence, so fasten your seatbelts. So look what I'm gonna do now to realize how powerful this tool is. I'm gonna go, so I have just very simple visuals. I have like one card visual that has the total sales. I have a matrix visual that has like, you know, sales by category of products. And then I have a bar chart where it has like annual sales for the years that I have in the data. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go back to the source, where is the sales data. And remember, when we did connect to the sales data, we say, go and read from a folder. And inside the folder, we have 3 files, 2013, 14, and 15. And if you see the Power BI, it brings the data here. Now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna like throw inside the folder an extra year. That could be like an extra day, an extra week, it doesn't matter, okay? So I'm throwing an extra year, and then the only thing I do, I click refresh data. And what it's gonna do, it's gonna go in the background. Power Query is going into the background, making the connections to the data, checking if there's any new data, running all the steps, removing the columns that we did remove when we did the cleaning. So it doesn't bring all the data, it brings the data and then filters, and then boom. It was like less than 10 seconds, and it did bring in another 50,000 rows. Okay, and your report is updated. Everything, all the visuals, all the calculations that you might have, they are updated like this. So I have many cases of people that I train in Power BI. In some master classes, we are doing introduction or more, you know, more like in-depth classes in Power BI and analytics, or clients where we do the solution for them, you know, and building solutions with Power BI. And I remember a bank in Cyprus where the guys came and said, Dimitri, you saved us. This report was taking like 5-6 hours to update, and it updates in seconds. You know, and when they started the training, they couldn't believe it. Another client needed like 2 days to update the report, and now they update it in some minutes. They just have to put the right data, and you can automate. You don't need even to do like the refresh or the drag and drop of the data. You can automate this whole thing. So imagine if you have this kind of automation in your data. So let me see if we have any questions before I go and show you a little bit of DAX. So this is just a brief overview of what Power BI can do. But if I don't show you what DAX can do, DAX is a language that is behind Power BI and Power Pivot, then you're missing a lot of that power. Imagine if you have if you're using Excel and you don't know how to write functions. So DAX is a very powerful language. Okay, I don't think there is any tool, and one of the reasons that Power BI it's for the 14th consecutive year, it's the leader in BI tools. It's because of this analytic power that you get with this language that is sitting behind the Power BI tool. Okay, what can I do with DAX? I can write calculations. At the beginning, it looks like Excel, so that's good. If you are using Excel, that's a good starting point. But DAX, it's a beast, okay? It can do a lot of different things. So let me show you one example with DAX. So instead of having sales amount, how did I bring the sales amount? I just took the sales amount from the sales table and I drop it inside the visual here. So I did that thing here, drag and drop, or you put it in the values. I can right click here and select and say, write a new measure. So you just write a function like you write a function in Excel and say, okay, I'm going to write a new measure and I'm going to name the new measure total sales. And the total sales are the sum of the sales amount column from the sales table. So nothing fancy. And immediately, once you do that, it's a good practice to define the format of this measure you just created, this calculation. So I'm going to format it as a US dollar figure with no decimals. I don't need any decimals here. And if I take that measure that now has like a calculator icon in front of it, and I drag and drop it into my visual, it's the same numbers that you get with the column that you just dropped from your table. So I'm going to throw away the column because the sales amount that comes from Excel files or the SQL might have like crazy name and it's not reusable, while the measure is reusable. And I'm going to write one more measure. I'm going to take the product key, the product cost, and say total cost equals the sum of the total. So it does have IntelliSense and helps you. You don't need to type the whole thing. The only thing you need to remember when you're writing measures is, fix the format. So currency, no decimals. So up until now, it's nothing like really exciting because you already had those. You could use them already from your data. So let me change. But your data, as it comes from the SQL or your whatever ERP you have, it doesn't have the margin. With DAX, I can create a new measure that I'm going to calculate the margin. So I'm going to say the margin, and I can reuse the measure. Okay, it's the total sales minus the total cost. Now, something that you need to realize, this is something that's reusable and it's embedded on the spot in the engine, which means I'm just drag and dropping it here. If I click on the visual, and the visuals are interacting. So if I click on the visual where I have the sales by year, and I click on 2016, these measures that I just created, they will recalculate, and I will get the margin and the sales and the cost per category just for 2016. Okay, so it's dynamic. They speak to each other, and you can define the way they're speaking. And I can also go one step further and calculate a new measure. And in that case, I'm going to create a new quick measure. So Microsoft tries, in order to make your life easier, to give you some push with that. So instead of you writing the code, writing DAX, you can, do calculations by selecting from a drop down in the quick measures. So in that case, I want to do like a division, and I'm going to take in the numerator the margin, and in the denominator, I'm going to take sales. So I'm going to take a total sales. And I have a new measure that is the margin percentage. I didn't write any code, okay? The code is there, it's written here. It used the divide function. If you didn't know the divide function, it doesn't matter. And I can name that margin percentage, and here you are. And I can take the margin percentage and put it in my visual. And what I forgot to do, actually, I didn't have an option because that was a quick measure, to format it and look like a percentage. And again, this measure, it's updating on the spot, depending on the dimensions you have in your data. And what I'm gonna do now, let me see, because I see questions coming on the Zoom, not so much on Ops, sorry. Yes, we do have an upcoming course for training, both for Greek and English audience. No limitations, guys, no limitations. I told you, one of the solutions we just finished last week for a bank, in one of the reports they use, it has like 15 million rows, and it's loading like charm, like in seconds. The DAX formulas look like Excel. So Hong Ying is asking about Excel and the formula, but DAX, it's, it's like, it has a lot more than Excel. So some things look like Excel. So the sum function, mean, max, average, they're there, okay? So if you're an Excel user and you're using data for any kind of analysis, you can start using that tool, and your work will be much better. You're much more impressive. So let me put one more visual here, just by sales. Of course, it's just the bikes that they dominate, but anyway. Okay, one of clients like it, so you will like it. It's if we bring the regions. Okay, let's go and bring the regions. So if you remember, we have the sales territory. In the sales territory, let's see what is inside the territory. So where is the sales territory? It's here. And you have like country and territory group. So I think it's fine. And there is information in my transaction about the sales territory. So let's see the sales as well. There is a sales territory in the sales. So here, So what I can do, okay, let's write as it is. So let me duplicate that table here. And instead of looking the data by category of product, let's try to look the data by sales territory, by country. So let's put the country here. And what you see in the screen is that all the figures. So I will put the cost out. and the margin, and I just put the sales and the margin percentage, and you see it's the same. Why? Because there's no relationship between the sales table and the territory table. So in order for this to work, you need to create a relationship. So how do I create a relationship? I can either drag and drop the common elements from the two tables, or I can go up here and say manage relationships and select new relationship and say I'm gonna connect my sales territory table with my sales table. And if you have the same column name, it will try to detect it, or you can do it yourself. You can select the columns that you want to connect as similar elements. So the primary key here is the sales territory for those of you that have done like some kind of a database course. And you just say, okay, connect, and you have the connection. And the line now will actually be displayed on the screen. And we have this one-to-many relationship. So you see, from the unique customers table, we have one customer buying many times. So that's why you have the asterisks buying many times in the transactions table. Now look at the visual. Wow. Now we do have sales by country and margin by country. And if I click on a specific country, let's say I click on United Kingdom, I'll see my sales just for United Kingdom. So out of the total of 40 million in the UK, we did sell for the whole period 4.83 million, and the margin was 41.39%. Okay, but Dimitri, can we use some kind, you told us about visual and nice dashboards. Can we do something better? Of course, you can use the map. And look how much better it will be, because Power BI is smart enough. The only thing I need to do is, make sure that there is some kind of a regional information, country, city. It's using big maps, which is not the best, but it does work. So I'm going to zoom now so that you see that. Wow. Guys, believe me, if you build a dashboard and it has a map showing the sales or any kind of transactional data on the map, your clients, your boss, the managers will love you because it's so visual. It speaks on its own. So the bigger the bubble, the bigger the size of the value you're displaying on the chart. So you see, and if I hover my mouse over that, you see that in the US, we have like the biggest part of our sales. How do I know it? Because the biggest bubble, the biggest, bubble here. And I can also put like tooltips and see that the margin and whatever other information that I have. So, and this is nice because, you can like display in a more visual way what is happening in your business. Okay, let's see. I see questions coming. Yeah. Okay, yes, there is a certification, but the most important, it's not about the certification. It's start using the technology, start using the tool, and learn how you can use analytics and Power BI to actually boost your reporting, build impressive dashboards. If you're a startup, if you're an existing like established company, if you are in any industry and you're using Excel, you're using data, you need to use this kind of technology, this kind of a tool. So I'm going to show you like two other functionalities of Power BI that I like. I did mention in my introduction about the natural language. So I'm going to duplicate that, and then I'm going to show you a little bit of Power BI online and how you can share things. So, okay, let's get rid of that. Okay, I know you like the visual. So let's put that up there and make that smaller and put it maybe here. Okay, let's bring that. Okay, what is this Q&A you told us about? Okay, I told you that I can ask questions, or it actually looks into my data and with using artificial intelligence. Yes, artificial intelligence, okay? Look how cool it is. You don't need to be an IT guy, and you have a tool. that you just need to connect your data, prepare it, build the data model, and then it's using AI. It has like free visuals from Microsoft, where it's using AI to do like analysis of your data. And it says, what's the total cost by gender? Wow, I didn't know that I have this information in my data. So I can ask that, and it's gonna look into that, and then it's gonna like bring the visual that thinks is the best, and it shows what's the total cost by gender. And if I like that visual, I can like pin it and put it in my dashboard. Let's see what other questions it has. So show me total cost for the last year, show me total sales for the last year, show all suggestions. So it does give you suggestions here. I can like, start my top 5 clients by region. And it's trying to find, I don't have the word clients anywhere. I do have the word customers. So that's why, so you can train it. And look, it's, again, it says top 5 customers keys, customer categories, because I don't have the customer name there. And it's doing that, but I don't like that, So I could say, top 5 customers in Germany. But again, it's the customer key, so it's not that representative. So maybe I should change the visual. But okay, if you're really liking AI, I'll show you one AI visual that again, it's gonna build the wow thing for your audience. So on the spot, it's drilling into the data, it's using artificial intelligence and machine learning, and it's explaining what is going on in your business, which is something that will take you time and maybe a lot of pain to do it by yourself. And you can use artificial intelligence by just drag and dropping that visual into your report. And I'm saying, okay, I want you to analyze the total sales. And then I can put different dimensions, explain the total sales by category, by subcategory. Where is the name? Where is the name? Here. Subcategory. By what other dimensions we have? By customers. Let's go to the customers. Oh, we forgot about the age group. By age. By gender. So it depends, you can throw all your data in, and then I go here and I click, and if I select the path of, analyze the sales by different like elements of your business, I can either say, okay, analyze the sales by gender, by age group, by region, by, I don't know, educational level, whatever data you have there, you can bring it in as long as you have a good data model, or I can let the AI algorithm to do the job for me. So, and I can select either the high values or the low values. So what is driving my sales? What is the most important factor for my sales? And it will do it now. Now, as I click it, boom. So it says that the best element, the best aspect of your business, it's decomposing your sales, and says is the category. And actually it's the bikes. And then, okay, in the bikes category, what's the best thing? And it says that are the female customers. Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't notice that. I didn't know that females were the most important. And then what is the next important thing? AI finds it for you. It's the road bikes. And then what is the next important thing? It's the 40-50. My God, I had to do like a lot of drilling, beg my IT guys to drill into the data, and it does it for me for free. And in order to realize, and then the age doesn't make sense because maybe I didn't format it properly. So I can like throw it away and put some other element, maybe marital status. Maybe it does matter, if you're married or not, or, your education. So let's bring education in. Maybe that it's a factor we need to consider. So clients that have a bachelor degree, they're single, they buy road bikes. So female clients that they're single and they have a bachelor's degree and they are like 40 to 50 years old. I did delete that, probably, yeah. They are good clients. And then you can like restructure your whole marketing campaign because the AI helps you. And I can do something even more cool here. I want to specialize and put the algorithm do the dirty job for me. I'm gonna put a filter here. I'm gonna slice the data, and I want to know what is happening in Canada. And look, in Canada, females are the dominant in terms of the status, but the married ones, and with a graduate degree. While in Australia, the trend is different. The bachelor's, single females. Well, let's see Germany. That happens on the spot. So the AI, it's looking the patterns and changes not only the ranking within the category, but also the ranking and the influence of each factor on the spot. That's so impressive. Okay, so let me bring that here. Copy. So there's so many things you can do with Power BI. Once you do them, the question is, how do you share them? So as I said, this is Power BI Desktop. This is a free application you can use in order to do reporting, advanced reporting, super dashboards, and this is like offline. Okay. Now you can have a free Power BI online account, and you see my name up here on the top right in the screen, which means I have signed up. And if I click publish, actually it asked me to save it. It's going to publish whatever I created on the Power BI Online, in the cloud, in the Microsoft Cloud. And that would be visible only by me. Okay. Wait for the program to respond. Any questions until the program responds? Yes, yes. There is an API. There is, yes. There's a Power BI embedded, George. You can look for that. Yes, you can even create an application and have your own application that reads and uses all this technology. Yes, there is. So George asked about API and export this data. So I'm going to show you two things before we wrap it up. And if you have any questions, we do have like a short Q&A session as well. So okay, and then I have different workspaces here. I'm going to upload it to one of my workspaces online. So it's publishing that on my Power BI Online. And a few seconds, it's going to be online. So it's online, and also it gives you this other functionality that, again, is using artificial intelligence to find insights with your data. So it's trying to use AI to find any insights, any correlations, any patterns that we didn't spot, and bring them into our attention in case we want to use them for our reporting. And the report is loaded here. You see the pages, and that's online now. Now you can share that report. If you want to share the report, you should have a Power BI Pro license, and that's where you have to pay. But the cost is minimal. If you have like a small team, it's it's like $10 per month per user. It's nothing for this kind of technology, for this kind of a tool. And there's also Power BI Premium, but that's for bigger deployments. But with a Power BI Pro license, you can like share the report and send it to like colleagues or clients that you want to share the data. And that's how I share it. I can click here, share, and then I can say, oh, I'm going to share it with like Andonis. And then I can select if I give access to my recipient to share the report with others. If I don't want them to share it, I can turn it off. If I want them to use the data to build other, reports based on that data. And if I want them to get updated about what is going on with the future updates of that report. And then I share it, and Adonis will get a notification and will be able to actually have access to the report. And I can even subscribe users. So I can create a new subscription and say, I'm going to subscribe, XYZ users and put a subject like daily report, sales report, and then select which page it's going to go, what's the frequency. I can select if the report goes daily, weekly, monthly. And so you're automating the report publishing, the report sharing process, okay? And you can select if they can access the report or they can just view it. And when this, subscription to my report, dynamic interactive report is starting. So there are many, many other things that Power BI can do. So this is like a very small sample of, the power of Power BI. I would advise that, you do spend time. And the last thing that I'm going to show you, it's, the connection, the interconnectivity with Excel. So once you have the data model built and you have like your data ready, you can like analyze the data in Excel, which actually builds a bridge, a live bridge, and with your Power BI model, data model with Excel, and it's a pivot table. And I guess if you're using Excel, most probably you have used pivot tables, and you can start, doing analysis in Excel. So I can say, give me category, put it in the row, and give me the total sales. So it's just a pivot table, but this is dynamic. So if your Power BI data model changing, your Excel will also change. So it's a live link. So let's put the margin as well. And of course I can put like, maybe a slicer with marital status. And then you say, I want to see, what is happening in terms. And remember, the total sales and the margin, they are measures. And because they are measures, you can use them in the report in Excel. Of course, if you ask my opinion, would I go back to Excel to like, some people want to have the option of Excel for many reasons. Maybe there is a resistance from the management to change. But believe me, if you start visualizing your data in that manner with that kind of technology, there's no way back. People will love it and they will ask for more. So questions, that was about it. So it's one of the best tools for data analysis. There are a lot of functionalities that I didn't have time to show it. It was like an introductory webinar. I hope you did get a good understanding, a good like first introduction feeling of what you can do with Power BI. And the beauty is that it automates and saves time. It presents data in a better manner, faster. It allows you to get better insights. And so I'd suggest that it's something that you should link into it. So it's not hard to learn it. If you want to do like more fancy things, you might need some help. But there's a lot of content out there. You can look for it. The first thing you should do, go download Power BI Desktop, play around with it, see how you can build your data in. From my experience, when the data is not like training data and it's real life data, you do need some kind of, an expert to give you a push to help you. And then you build it once and you don't need the expert anymore because you just click refresh and that's it. So we are going to do a seminar about Power BI next month, May. in case you're interested. So we will send you more details about it. Okay, guys, thank you. Have a great weekend, and see you soon.